County of Saginaw and the State of Maine have warned and notified the inhabitants of Woolwich who are qualified by law to vote in town affairs to assemble at this time and place for the purpose of acting on the articles listed in the warrant dated on the 30th day of April in the year 2025. Attested copies of the warrant have been posted at the Woolwich Municipal Building, the Woolwich Post Office, and here at the Woolwich Central School, all being public and conspicuous places in the town of Woolwich. Article 1, to choose a moderator to preside at this meeting.
I would nominate Mike Field.
I would second the nomination.
Are there any other nominations?
I would move the nominations are closed.
I would second that motion.
All right, please vote. I declare Michael Field has been elected to serve as moderator for this meeting. Mike, would you please come and take the oath? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Michael Field,
I, Michael Field,
do swear and affirm
do swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so long as I shall
so long as I shall
continue a citizen thereof.
to continue as citizens thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I do swear or affirm
I do swear and affirm
that I will faithfully discharge,
that I will faithfully discharge,
to the best of my abilities,
to the best of my abilities,
the duties incumbent upon me
the duties incumbent upon me
as moderator of this meeting,
as moderator of this meeting,
according to the Constitution and the laws of the state.
according to the Constitution and the laws of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right, good evening, everyone. Great turnout for our annual town meeting. We're going to go first, all those that are able, will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we're going to have some a few announcements and a couple presentations before we get into the articles. First, I'd like to introduce Debbie Locke.
So I have 3 save the dates for you to keep in mind. Saturday, May 10th will be the annual Rural Food Carriers Food Drive. You can leave food in bags at the bottom of your mailbox, or you can drop them off at the Woolwich Post Office, and any food you donate goes to the Bath Area Food Bank. When you're choosing food or whatever, if you're taking things from home, be sure you check the expiration date and make sure it's still good. And it's really needed, I think you all know that. On Monday, May 26th, will be the annual Woolwich Town Memorial Day service. It will be at 6 o'clock at Woolwich Wiscasset Baptist Church. And looking into the middle of August, on Saturday, August 16th, will be Woolwich Community Day. Free hot dogs, hamburgers, chips, soda, and ice cream, and a Historical Society bake sale, and other good fun stuff in the parking lot. So save them all.
Thank you, Debbie. I'd like to introduce Marla Davis. I believe she's going to talk about the rideshare program.
Well, I have some really good news. Over the past winter, Woolwich and 3 other regional towns have started a transportation program. Volunteer riders and drivers And I will be here at the end of the program to share how to contact our local coordinator. It's really going to be great for people who need essential rides for everyday living, such as groceries, medical appointments, and even sociability activities. So if you yourself are not in need, I bet you know someone who is. So see me after the meeting for direct contact information. Thanks.
Thank you, Marlon. Great. I would like to recognize Jennifer Rich Smith, our RSU1 board representative.
Just turn that on, Jay. Slide it right up, all the way up.
How about that?
Perfect.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I am your school board representative here for the past, I think, 10 years. It is this year. And I just wanted to give you an update on our school budget process. We had a meeting this week, and the board has a fairly strong consensus on a version of the budget that we would expect to see passed. For Woolwich, that budget is going to be a 7.79% increase from last year. That accounts for about a $5.5 million budget for the town, and that represents an increase of $392,000. The budget process works through several public meetings that we have. We're going to have one more public meeting on the 5th of May, which is when we set the referendum, and then we will have our district-wide budget meeting on the 27th of May. So if you would like to come and voice your opinions on the budget, on the process, could speak to whatever part of it you want, you're very welcome to come on the 5th. At the meeting, the budget referendum meeting on the 27th of May, the process is really set at that point, but you can still certainly come and support what the board has put forth as a referendum amount. And happy to answer anybody's questions after the meeting. Thank you.
Here.
Oh, at Morse. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. Next will be our Select Board Chairman, David King.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I want to address some recent comments that have been posted on Facebook. The town of Woolwich is not now, nor has it ever been, broke. We did get a tax anticipation line of credit from Bath Savings this year. The line of credit was for $389,000, of which we drew $150,000. It was necessary in order to meet our March payments. It's not unusual for a town to get a tax anticipation note every year, but this was the first time in 30 years that we had to get one. As of this morning, our checkbook had $1,959,000 in it. Every year in September, when we set the mill rate, we take as much as we can from undesignated revenues to offset the mill rate. We knew that the county and the RSU were both going to have an increase, but we thought we could safely take $1,500,000 last year to offset taxes. Hindsight being 2020, if we'd only taken $1,300,000, we would have been okay. But we have enough investments that we could have borrowed from ourselves. However, the interest on the note is much less than what we would have lost in income from our investments. So it made more sense to borrow $150,000 than lose the interest from our investments. The RSU1 increase last year was $317,686, which means that we now pay RSU1 $419,062 a month. Digest that for a minute. $419,000 a month we pay for the school. The county increase was $143,985. So for the first time ever, we now pay the county over $1 million. We pay them last year we paid them $1,017,916. And the tough thing about that is we have to pay it in one payment. The town budget for last year, this current year, was $2,400,000. So to put that into perspective, every dollar that we collect from you on taxes, 58% goes to the RSU 1, 12% goes to the county, and 30% runs your town. In other words, if you got a $3,000 tax bill, $900 runs the town. $2,100 goes to the school and the county, over which this board has no control. The second thing I want to talk about tonight, before we get started, is the revaluation. Reval should be done in late June, and letters should be sent out with new assessments in early July. Then you'll have a couple of weeks to meet with the Dorigo people to ask any questions. Remember, we only have to raise the amount of money that you allow us to spend, what you give us to spend tonight. So, if the townwide valuation, let's say townwide it doubles, our mill rate will drop significantly because we still only have to raise that target number. There will be no extra money for us to spend. Also, all state reimbursements, which you're only getting 65% of right now, your homestead exemption, your tree growth, open space, veterans, and everything else, will go back to 100%. That's the carrot and stick thing that the state has. When our assessment ratio drops below 70%, they start deducting what they reimburse us for. So once we get the revaluation done, it'll bring us back to 100%. If you're living in $1 million house and we've got it assessed for $400,000, you're going to see an increase. But if it's done correctly, and we believe this one is being done correctly, a third of the people in town will see an increase. A third of the people, it'll be virtually the same as what you're paying now. And a third of the people will actually see the taxes go down. And if you have any questions, I'll be around after the meeting. I'd be glad to talk to anybody about the revaluation if you want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize Select Board Member Tommy Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to give a quick update about our broadband project here in town. You may have noticed a lot of the consolidated Fidium trucks putting up wire all over town, and that I just wanted to let you know that this effort is set to be completed in July, after which time you'll be able to actually order service from Consolidated on their Fidium product. We've been having regular meetings with them to get updates, and one of the things that they've asked us to convey to the town is that it really helps them, if people that are interested in possibly using that service in the future, to pre-order it, which will allow them to set up wiring and infrastructure ready to hook up to your house when the time comes. So, yep, and that's so around late July, early August, you'll probably be seeing announcements about they're ready to take orders. Thanks.
Thank you. Now for a couple presentations. First, we'll ask the Select Board Vice Chair Jason Shaw and Select Board Member and Representative Allison Hepler.
So every year for the last several years, we've given out a Spirit of America award that rewards the volunteer efforts of so many members in our town. You may remember that we had a musical concert here last year, and the Monsweeters were given the award. This year, we're giving it to another quite worthy volunteer, and so I'm going to ask Alan Green to come up here. All right, so, whereas, I love writing this, it's all these whereases. Woolwich is blessed with talented volunteers and...
Whereas, serving for many years as the chair of the planning board is not for the faint of heart, and...
Whereas, serving as a select person in this town is also not for the faint of heart, and...
Whereas performing every year in December as Woolwich's very special guest, bearing gifts and candies requires a big smile. And
whereas cooking the most amazing hamburgers and hot dogs and even taking special requests at every annual Woolwich Day for years means having patience and good humor for customers and coworkers alike. Therefore,
be it resolved that the town of Woolwich confers the 2025 Spirit of America Award on Alan J. Green on this day, the 30th of April, 2025. And,
so we're also honored to present, to acknowledge and recognize our outstanding EMS folks in town with the Maine EMS Phoenix Award and Woolwich EMS Life Saving Award. The Phoenix Award is presented by Maine EMS to those EMS personnel who, using their skills and knowledge, participate in the successful resuscitation of a patient who experience an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest and, as a result, can lead a neurologically intact life. The following individuals were recognized by the state for their efforts on a Woolwich call in November 2024. And if you're here, we'd love for you to come down. We have a certificate and a pin for you. Paramedic Chris Cummings. Advanced EMT Daniel Everts. Advanced EMT Zachary Miller. Driver Operator Donald Munsey. And EMT Robert Nybar. Okay.
So the Phoenix Award is only, you can stay up here. The Phoenix Award is only granted to those people who were on the official report, for the official medical report. But we're lucky in the town of Woolwich that we have a great crew who show up when they know they're needed, even if they're not on duty, anytime, day or night. And we didn't want to let them go unrecognized. So the following people we are granting the Woolwich EMS Life Saving Award to for their response to the same scene where we saved a patient and got them to the hospital. So if I say your name, please come forward. EMT Brandon Bailey, not here, he's at work. Advanced EMT Zachary Miller. Driver Operator Donald Munsey, he's not here. Driver Operator Jennifer Munsey, not here. EMT Robert Nybarger, he's, I believe, at work at Patogus. EMT Amanda Plummer. And Driver Operator Shane Plummer. So, whereas many of our calls result in lives saved, and if there were awards for every call that we saved a life, there wouldn't be enough. And I just want to honor even those people who weren't on this event, the work you do. Our crew is amazing, and we're out there trying to help you. And just so our EMS and fire personnel at the back, thank you. You're a part of this. We can't do it without all working together. We've got one. Driver Operator Frank Petrulli. Sorry, I just skipped over you, Frank. So thank you all. Oh, we want to get a picture. The state wants a picture.
Looks pretty. Good. Thank you. No, you're welcome.
All right, first I'm going to just go over a couple ground rules and guidelines for tonight's meeting, and then we'll jump into going to work. If you wish to speak, wait until the moderator has opened the floor to public comments. When the moderator has recognized you, stand, state your name for the record, the agenda item, and nature of your business. Please refrain from discussion on the article if you have a conflict of interest in any article. The moderator will not entertain public comment about specific individuals. The moderator has the right to set a time limit for comments. Be prepared to state your business in a brief and concise manner. During a public meeting, only the subject matter can be discussed. Comments should always be courteous. Personal and accusatory comments are out of order. Profanity, disorderly language, or gestures at meetings are prohibited. At no time will the public be allowed to argue, debate, or introduce a topic that is not on the agenda. During discussion, the audience shall not disturb the proceedings by loud whispering, loud talking, or other distractions. And town staff, without objection, will be able to present. I'm going to introduce our runner tonight, Bella Carl, over here to my left. When you want to speak, if you don't come up to the main mic over here, please wait, and she's going to have a microphone, and she'll bring it to you, and then you can begin your comments. All right, let's go to work. I am going to start by bundling Articles 2, 3, and 4, but do know that we can pull any article out for further discussion if need be. Article 2. To see if the town will set the dates of October 30th, 2025 and April 30th, 2026 when taxes are due and payable, and to see if the town will fix the interest rate on unpaid taxes at 7% per annum, 36 MRSA subsection 505.4. And to set the dates that interest starts on unpaid taxes 30 days after each due date. Article 3. To see if the town will vote to set an interest rate to be paid by the town on taxes that have been paid but are either abated or overpaid and refunded at 3.5% for the 2025-2026 tax year, 36 MRSA subsection 506-A. And Article 4, to see if the town will vote to transfer all unexpended balances and overdrafts to the undesignated fund balance, except those that may be carried forward at the Select Board's discretion. The Select Board is authorized to expend funds out of these carried forward accounts for the purpose for which they were established or allow them to lapse.
Move the articles be accepted as read. Second the motion.
Articles 2, 3, and 4 have been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 2, 3, and 4 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Articles 2, 3, 4 are passed. Article 5A. To see what sum the town will vote to appropriate from the undesignated fund balance account to reduce the tax commitment. The Select Board recommends up to $1,300,000. 2024 recommendation was $1,700,000.
Move the article be accepted as read. Second the motion.
Article 5 has been moved and seconded. 5A, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 5A signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 5A passes. I'm going to bundle Article 5 B, C, and D. Article 5B, to see if the town will vote to authorize the tax collector or treasurer to accept prepayments of taxes not yet committed pursuant to 36 MRSA subsection 506. C, to see if the town will vote to appropriate up to $20,000 from the undesignated fund balance account to pay for abatements and applicable interest granted during this fiscal year. 2024 appropriation was up to $20,000. And D, to grant the select board the permission to remove up to $50,000 from the undesignated fund balance in the event of a state or federal declared emergency and/or disaster.
Move the articles be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article 5, B, C, and D has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 5, B, C, and D passes. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to apply for available grants, to receive said grants, and to expend the grant funds for the purposes stated in the grant, and to see if the town will vote to appropriate up to $40,000 from the undesignated fund balance account as the town's share of any approved grants.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article 6 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 6 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 6 passes. Article 7, I'm going to bundle Article 7, A and B. A, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to sell or dispose of various items that serve little or no purpose in the operation of the town. And B, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to accept donations, fines, fees established by ordinance, and revenues generated by town-provided services, and to use them as directed by the donation, ordinance, or contract, or otherwise, at the selectman's discretion.
Move the articles be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Articles 7A and B has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of 7A, B signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Articles 7A and B pass. Article 8, to select a fish commissioner for a 5-year term. Is Mr. Potter here? Bill Potter?
I'll nominate John D. Chapman.
I will second that.
John D. Chapman has been nominated and moved and seconded. Any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 8 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Mr. Chapman is our fish commissioner from 2025 through 2030. Article 9A, to see what action the town will take in regard to the alewives privileges and the Quasit and Back River Creek for the coming year.
I make a motion we leave that up to the fish commissioners.
I would second that.
So we don't have to, any discussion on that, right? No, okay.
Somebody wants.
All right, any discussion about that? All those in favor of leaving 9A to the fish commissioners signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, Article 9B, to see if the town will authorize the fish commissioners on behalf of the town to use funds from the yearly sale of alewife privileges collected in the Fishway account for maintenance purposes of the Fishway buildings and property. The fish commissioners are responsible for maintenance decisions. As the Fishway property is shared with the Bath Water District, the fish commissioners will coordinate with them on matters related to the alewife privileges. When the expenditure is expected to be greater than $1,000, the planned Fishway maintenance project will be presented to the select board for their agreement. Use of Fishway funds for the purposes other than Fishway purposes shall be subject to the vote of the town.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article 9B has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of 9B signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 9B passes. Article 9C. To see if the town will authorize the transfer of funds presently in the Fishway account to the municipal reserve account E-1-17-78. The Select Board and the Fish Commission have agreed to an immediate transfer of $18,000 with further consideration following completion of the 2025 harvest. The Fishway account has sufficient remaining funds for known needs and will be replenished over time from yearly alewife harvest.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
9C has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of 9C signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 9C passes. Article 10. To see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board on behalf of the town to provide to the former owner or owners of tax-acquired property, or if deceased, his, her, their, heirs, devisees, personal representative, 30 days to repurchase the property for a price equal to all outstanding taxes, interest, fees, and costs. If the former owner does not repurchase the property, the municipal officers may sell the property through sale process in 36 MRSA subsection 943-C, provided that if the former owner does not timely request that process of the board, is unable to list or sell the property as required by subsection 943-C3, the board may sell the property through a competitive sealed bid process in which a notice advertising sale of the property shall be published at least twice in a newspaper of general circulation in the county, and for sales to someone other than the former owner or owners, excess sale proceeds as defined in 36 MRSA subsection 943-C shall be returned to the former owner.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article 10 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 10 passes. Those two articles had a few words in them. Thank you for your patience. Okay, Article 11. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 for the compensation of the tax collector, deputy treasurer, deputy town clerk, and to authorize the Select Board to spend any amount up to $50,000. 2024 appropriation, $48,500.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article 11's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 11 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 11 passes. Article 12. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $78,280 for the compensation of the town administrator, town treasurer, town clerk, and to authorize the Select Board to spend any amount up to $78,280. 2024 appropriation, $76,000.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article 12 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 12 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 12 passes. Article 13. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 for the compensation of 2 part-time deputy town clerks and authorize the Select Board to spend any amount up to $15,000.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article 13 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 13 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 13 passes. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $18,000 for the employee health insurance account. Last year's appropriation, $33,000.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article 14 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 14 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 14 passes. Article 15A, to see what sum of money the town will vote to pay the town officers for the ensuing year.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Longley.
I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the balance of the reading of those line items.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of suspending the reading of 15A signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Move the article be accepted as presented.
And I would second the motion.
Article 15A has been moved and seconded as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 15A signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 15A passes. I am going to bundle B, C, and D, but do remember that we can pull any of those out for further discussion if need be. Article 15B, to see what sum, if any, the town will vote to raise and appropriate for the town officers' account for the ensuing year. Recommended $68,313. Last year, $70,746. C, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,015 for the salary, including mileage, to the Animal Control Officer, ACO, and to authorize the Select Board to spend any amount up to $9,015. Last year's appropriation, $8,752. And D, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $36,050 for the salary of the Codes Enforcement Officer, Building Inspector, and Licensed Plumbing Inspector, and to authorize the Select Board to spend any amount up to $36,050. Last year's appropriation was $35,000.
Move the articles be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article 15B, C, and D has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 15B, C, and D signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 15B, C, and D pass. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate such sums of money as may be necessary for the following town accounts. Mr. Longley.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the balance of the reading of each line item.
I'll second that.
Article 16 has been moved and seconded to suspend the reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
I move that the article be accepted as presented.
Now I'll second the motion.
Article 16 has been moved and seconded as presented. Any discussion? Yes. Hang on, we'll get you a mic. Bella, right over here. Unless you want to come up to this, whatever you're using. Thank you. You might have to turn it on.
Okay.
Oh, it's gone. Go ahead.
So I just had the question about the general assistance, and it says 0 for that. And I just wondered, there seem to be other places that maybe people get assistance, and I just wondered what people are, what that category is.
We have enough money in that account that we've carried forward, so we don't need to add it in this year for general assistance.
And could you clarify how much is carried forward?
We currently have about 12,000.
Currently 12,000 in that account was the question. Thank you. Any other discussion?
Why wouldn't we want to carry more?
You would have.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question, but why would we have it at 0 this year? Why not have more there to carry forward for general assistance for other people.
Tommy, we base it on our past. We base it on our past history. So we base that on our past history. So how much we dole out. So if there's plenty of money in there to carry forward, we don't need to raise and appropriate more to put in there. And so that's the recommendation of the board, that we'll be okay.
So what is that general assistance used for?
It's for folks that come apply for general assistance, and they have to fill out a bunch of paperwork, and they deal with Kim over there at the end. And Kim, if you want to add anything.
So general assistance is for assistance that, for basic needs, food, shelter, electricity, heat. So
the town, thank you. The town also offers the heating assistance fund that people donate for. So we have that separate account as well, which I think we currently have about 8,000 in there. So it's also based, we get reimbursed back from the state as well through DHHS, depending on what we give out to general assistance. But there's qualifications that they have to meet by the state guidelines. So
Just one last question. So it's been carried forward. Are people not utilizing it, or are they not aware of this fund? Or?
Unfortunately, a lot of it is based off of income, and so a lot of people are overqualified, and that is state guidelines. But as far as the heating assistance that the town has, that has no qualifications. It's on an as-needed basis. So we have more people that request heating assistance than most anything. But there are a lot of other programs that we lead people to, as far as electricity assistance that the state will provide if there's children in the home, that they will give a discount for up to a $250 credit toward their electric bill. So you're welcome.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 16 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 16 passes. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $71,506 to support the operating costs of the patent-free library, and to authorize the select board to spend any amount up to $71,506. Last year's appropriation, $66,392.
Move the article be accepted and read.
Second motion.
Article 17 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay, we'll start with the lady way back on the bleachers, please.
Good evening, everyone. I know that many of us have had to tighten our household budgets this year because of rising costs. I think it is time for our town to do the same, and we must take a hard look at the priorities before we spend more. The vote is about priorities, not whether libraries matter. I deeply respect everything the patent-free library offers, but this is a vote about fiscal responsibility. Our volunteer fire department has to apply for grants to afford essential gear, and our EMS team is struggling to remain fully equipped. The numbers don't lie. We're being asked to contribute over $70,000 to a service that less than 25% of our residents use. Out of the 3,210 residents, less than 25%, or 802 residents, utilize the library. That would be an annual cost of $89 per person utilizing a library card. Safety should come first. When you call 911, you expect someone who is trained, ready, and equipped to respond. Right now, that readiness is at risk. Shouldn't our first priority be the people who keep us safe? A smarter solution for library access. Instead of a blanket subsidy, let's implement a library card reimbursement or direct payment program. Residents can request a patent-free library card through the Woolwich Town Office. The town pays the cost per resident who chooses to use the service. This is already working in 3 towns in Maine, Palmyra, Burnham, and Detroit. Why this works? Because it's equitable, supports only residents who use the library. It's flexible, maintains full access to services. It's fiscally responsible, no overpayment for underused services, and it's simple. Sign up at town hall or get reimbursed with proof of library card. Vote no on the increase. Let's take care of Woolwich first, our safety, infrastructure, and emergency services. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? In the back right there. Yep, you, the one that's standing up. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Betsy Fear. I live here in Woolwich, honestly. I would recommend a vote in favor of the funds for the library. The libraries across the state library have been hit very, very hard in the retraction of funding, as have many vital services that people depend on. At the risk of, to a library, you say only a few of us from this town use the library, but it's there at a moment's notice for so many different opportunities and services, and it only costs each of us $23.31 a person for us to support it, which I think is very small. I mean, there are other things in your life that maybe you're spending money on that are less important than the library, and I would hate to make it harder for more people across this area to access library services. If all the towns like Woolwich and surrounding towns said, no, we're not going to help, where does that leave the library? Thank you.
We'll go over here to Tom, Mr. Stoner. Right over here, Bella. Thank you. Doing a great job. We appreciate it.
Getting some good exercise. Thank you.
Good evening. Yes, Tom Stoner. I'd like to support the first person that recommended a no vote on this. And working off that, the idea that the library budget is not transparent. We have no way of seeing how they divide up their budget. We don't have any control over their budget. And approximately 75%, like was said, of the residents do not use the library. So that approach would be preferable in terms of saving money for the town. The Woolwich School Library provides good book access for the students, I presume. But I think we need to understand how money is spent, and an option, which basically option B would be a no vote, but my suggestion would be some funding. In particular, if we estimate 1,000 cards available at the town office, that would be roughly $20,000 based on the actual price of $20 per person or per card, the way the library calculates that out. And then the other portion of that, 10,000, could be sent to the school library, 10,000 to the Woolwich Historical Society, possibly for a library there, and $30,000 of that to the Woolwich Fire and EMS. So option B, just as a consideration, something that we would be able to control here rather than not have any access to control of the library's budget.
Okay. Mr. Reno, is that you raising your hand? Yep, right over here, Bill.
Peter North. I just wonder if there's anybody here from the library representing their interest in explaining the 7.7% increase and what the change, if any, there was to the Woolwich allocation of that, given that there's 31% is paid by the towns and the rest is paid from the library itself. And I'm just wondering why we want to get out of that arrangement where they pay 66% of the cost and we pay 31%. And as far as, library usage, I'm not sure why that's as much of a concern as it seems to be. Not many of us use the EMS directly. Not many of us use the fire department directly. Not many of us use the schools directly. I mean, I'm not sure what this argument is about, and I don't really understand the background of it. But it seems to be a good deal to me. I mean, if we could get the schools for a third of the cost, that'd be great. I just think this is a mistake not to support the library. And I'm not even sure, if there's nobody here that can speak for the library, whether they would accept this member charge and Woolwich dropping out. It's illogical to me.
Do we have an answer on anyone from the library that wants to answer the question?
Hi, Mary Ellen Casimir. I termed out of the library board, so I'm not, authorized to speak for the library, but I think I'm pretty up to date on the issues that we've been discussing. I'll start with addressing some of the items that have been raised already. There was a mention that other organizations get grants. Definitely, the library applies for many grants and gets grants. So that is not something that we just ignore because we charge towns. Then library cards cost $85. So the math is a bit different than has been raised. The issue about transparency of the budget. Now, we've talked about this at town meeting before, but of course not everybody attends every town meeting, so they might not be aware that every year the library comes to a select board meeting, usually in January, with a proposed budget in detail, down to every line item, for discussion at an open select board meeting. So if anyone wants to see exactly what is on the budget, there's your transparency. Questions can be asked, questions are answered. There's also many resources here in town and in Bath to answer any questions you have. On the website, you can just look up the Patent Free Library website and you can see all the members of the board, and I think we're up to, at this point, there are 5 people who live here in Woolwich who are on the board. 2 of our select board members are on the board. One of our select board members is the chair of the finance committee. So I think if there are real questions about what the library is doing with their funds, it would be great if they were asked of the people on the board or at the select board meeting in January. This is not a great forum for a detailed discussion of the library budget. But since there's the issue that we have every year where we talk about why are we doing this? And sometimes people say, why are we making this contribution? But it's not a contribution. It's a fee for service. And where this started was in the 1960s, with a resident of this town, some of you may remember, Mr. John Koukouros. And he got together with representatives from West Bath, Arousic, and Georgetown. And they were all strong believers, particularly in education for youth and sports for youth. And they thought it would be a benefit to each of these towns if people didn't have to buy their own library card. That everybody in town would have the opportunity to go to the library whenever they want. And now you can use the library without even going there, because there are so many streaming services You can, if you're a resident of this town, as long as we remain a sponsor of the library, you can have materials delivered to your home by volunteers from the library. And that's a program that started several years ago. And I want to be sure to mention my thanks, and the thanks I know of everybody at the library, to the EMTs who present information about this service to appropriate people they go and see. So, just on a personal note, I mean, I grew up in Lisbon Falls. If you've ever seen the library in Lisbon Falls, it's tiny. But still, it was a place that opened up so many opportunities for people. It gives you a chance to learn about things you didn't know, things you didn't know you didn't know, and show you your options. And this patent-free library has options for everybody. There are clubs. There's a repair cafe. If you have something broken and you don't know how to fix it, you can go in and have people help you with fixing it. There's the teen space. We had a teen space in Lisbon Falls, and I have to tell you, it saved people. There are a lot of things you can get into after school, and having a teen space available is very helpful for people. And it also, it provides services when you're getting ready for your life after school. What kind of a job do I want? What kind of, do I want to go on to another school? There's so much help available there for people who want to explore their options. The library is all about options. It's all about opportunities. If you're not taking advantage of those opportunities, I would urge you to look closer, because there is something there for everyone. And if it's not something that you want to do yourself right now, think about your children, think about your grandchildren, think about people who are thinking about moving to this town. And one of the questions they ask any realtor, one of the questions they ask is there a library?
Okay. I'm going to recognize Mr. Reno.
Do we actually know how many people hold a library card in the town of Woolwich?
The number that they gave us, gave the Board of Selectmen, is 786 people hold a library card. And I'll point out at $85 a piece, that comes to $66,810.
No, I think we should table it and secret vote this then, because
Okay.
that's what this blue card's for, right?
More people want to share.
I didn't hear the question.
Made a recommendation to table,
All right, we'll move on and keep discussion now. Mr. Fear?
My name is Mike Fear. Long-time owner of Now You're Cooking. We have been, I'm no longer the owner of Now You're Cooking, by the way, but long time I've supported the library, and both as a personal as well as my company. Just the same as we've always supported when the kids are going to Washington from here. There's a lot of people here who came and supported the auction and came and gave things and spent money to take care of the kids. Pantry Library is very important to youngsters, and as pointed out, I think it has helped a lot of people survive in a situation where they're unsure of their futures. They get an opportunity to learn how to apply for jobs. There's a lot of things available to them. I will point out I am a member of the Friends of the Pantry Library, so there's no surprise that I'm in support of the Pantry Library. But I do more than that. I work at the Pantry Library bookstore. This past year we sold enough used books to be able to contribute $30,000 to the Pantry Library. There's a lot of people who are working hard to keep that really great standard that the Pantry Library has. And I would ask that tonight you support the Pantry Library. I think it's well worth it. It's money well spent. Thank you.
Mr. Davis, up here. Wait, we're going to go back up front here and then, all right, well, go ahead. You go ahead and then we'll come back here.
Thank you. I promise I'll keep it very
Okay.
quick. I'm Sam Hollowell. I grew up in Woolwich. I also love the library. I just wanted to speak to library usership. I know the percentage seems very low. I would argue that every person in the town, in the county, in the state benefits from people that use the library, even if they don't themselves use the library. Everyone benefits from a more connected community, people that don't feel isolated, people that have resources. Everyone benefits from people that have resources, even if you don't use the resources.
I'm going to go to Mr. Davis and then I'll be right behind you.
I wanted to point out in page 70 of the warrant are the particulars about the library and how many people use it, et cetera. And so it's not like the information isn't there, perhaps. The letter was written specifically for the whole community and then for Woolwich. And I think it's somewhat of a false equivalent to say we can't do both, support the library and support EMS and the fire department. So I think it's incumbent on us to do the best we can to support both of those critical services in our community. And I am a former corporator, so it's not like I'm not biased, but I think it's a really good opportunity for the community to support everybody in the community. We don't do a fee for service for a lot of things. This is one of those things where it's a common good and a common good for all of us. Thank you.
My name is Abigail Lukes. I'm a resident of Woolwich. I am also blessed to be the librarian across the hall. That is the library that I work in, and we do have a wonderful collection, to speak to the gentleman earlier. But there are times when kids come into the library and they want to read a book or they're hooked on a series, and I only have the first 3 in the series. And countless times kids say, well, that's all right. I'm going to Patton Freed this afternoon. I'm going to the other library with my family this weekend. I'll get it there. So there are not a lot of kids or the families of the younger kids here this evening, probably because 7:15 is dinner bedtime for most of them. But I know how much the families use the library for the books, but also for all those services. And we're talking about tightening budgets, and it's hard to get your kid maybe to pay for the extracurriculars. Well, there's a Lego club that I know we have 4th graders who go to. There's an American Girl club that there's another kiddos that are part of. I'm proud to say that for the past 2 years, Woolwich Middle School kids have won the writing contest that the Patton Free puts on in the winter time. So that's just another, I'm trying to think, I was jotting down notes of all the things they do. Oh, kids have taken the babysitting course there and gotten certified through the American Red Cross, and that's free to Woolwich residents. And additionally, something you might not be aware of, the Maine State Library changed the database suite that is available to students, and it doesn't come with the geotagging anymore. So if you are a student doing research at home and you want to get onto some EBSCO databases, you have to have a library card barcode to do that research at home with the current database suite. And I know that we have some databases here and the high school has some, but there's other resources people might want to use, or maybe you would want to get on Ancestry.com or the Ancestry database at home, and you would need a library card for that. But the kids definitely from K through 12 are using the library, and I hope we can think about them, and the board will also support the library. Thanks.
The gentleman in the back, yeah.
My name is Jathan Ells. So speaking of cutting costs, I recently canceled my Amazon Prime membership and joined the library. It's a great way to not find yourself buying books you never actually read. So side note, I highly recommend that. Also, full disclosure, my wife is in the process of becoming a volunteer firefighter, so I'm sort of straddling both these issues. And I don't really want to advocate either way. What I do want to flag is the tone of this conversation. I think it's really a slippery slope to start a per capita argument for justification for things in our community. I don't have kids, I don't have grandkids. Why am I paying into the school budget? We could create a whole list for everybody, and pretty soon we'd have nothing that we share. So part of what's important to me is actually being okay with approving a budget, if it makes sense, if it's within a certain limit, if we understand why there's a cost increase, if we know they've exhausted every grant possible. Those are valid questions. But the idea that I shouldn't have to pay because I don't use it is a very slippery slope. And I can say that because I've been a part of communities that have crumbled as a result of it. So I'm not telling you to vote either way on this. I'm just saying this conversation and future conversations, we owe it to ourselves to think beyond just this is my interest, this is what matters to me, and the rest of you can pack it. That's not the community I want to be a part of, nor is it the community I want to be part of building. So I'll leave it to you. I'm not advocating either way. Like I said, I'm straddling this issue personally, but I hope that you'll think about what's being said tonight, because there are valid questions that need to be answered, but I don't think that means throwing out the baby with bathwater.
Make a motion that we move the question.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to move the question. It takes a 2/3 vote to do that. So all those in favor of moving Article 17 to vote signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. Motion passes. Okay, all those in favor of Article 17 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. Motion passes. Article 17 passes, excuse me.
No, sounded pretty loud.
They were loud, I understood. Thank you. All right. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $65,542 for the office operations account. The approximate breakdown of the account is as follows. Mr. Longley.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the balance of the reading of each line item.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the reading of Article 18. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
I move the article be accepted as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second motion. Second motion.
Article 18 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 18 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 18 passes. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $42,500 for the municipal building operation of plant account. The approximate breakdown of the account is as follows. Mr. Longley.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the balance of reading each line item.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the reading of Article 19. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Article 19.
I make the motion that the Article 19 be accepted as presented.
I will second the motion.
Article 19 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on Article 19? Mr. Stoner.
Yes, just a question regarding the electricity for CMP. I see there's a line item there for $6,000 for 2025, which is down from 2024. However, my question is, what's the benefit of the solar farm that we paid for? and I don't see any details in our warrants regarding the solar farm.
Once we complete the purchase of the solar farm, which we should be able to do sometime within the next 30 days, we are not going to pay for a good portion of our electricity, because right now we're buying it from Greenvolt Energy, which owns the solar farm. But you folks have given us money every year for the past 7 years to save up to buy the solar panels, and we have the money to buy them. And once we buy them, we will no longer be paying for that electricity. It's about 70% of the electricity the town uses. At the time that the solar panels were built, it was about 90%, but we use more electricity now than we did then.
So we don't own those?
And one moment, please. Mr. Stoner has a quick follow-up, and I'll come right over to you.
Just a follow-up question that I'm not familiar with Greenvolt, so apparently it's a solar farm operation that I did get a breakdown for the solar distribution information, and it shows that the values increase in terms of kilowatt charges per year since we started this from 0.08 kilowatts to 0.108 kilowatts now. Anyway, I just was questioning in terms of that breakdown. Does that include, under the annual cost, the insurance that's required, the maintenance for the equipment, the site, and the electrical, and the replacement costs for the panels and equipment? And then on top of that, at the end of the life, what the disposal costs will be and how the replacement will be paid for?
I do not have that information with me tonight, Tom, but I'll be glad to get it for you.
But it doesn't, though. So Tom, that number does not include any of those things you mentioned. Another point is, when the board was putting together the budget, we were a little concerned about the volatility happening today, and we didn't know if maybe our power charges would go up. So we feel that that's fairly hefty number there, and we expect to save more than that, but we don't really know. Much of the power is produced by natural gas from outside this country, and we just weren't sure where to go with it. We also haven't finalized the purchase yet, so we're still paying. But to answer your question, you were at those meetings when you know how much money we have. We've saved over 7 years. There's some money left in that account to take care of that warranty. You remember the discussion we had about I should say it's a maintenance agreement thing that we're going to work on. But this does not include any of those things you said. Okay.
Any other discussion? Did you have, okay. In the back, just a second. Mike's coming.
Just wanted a quick question with regard to the cleaning services. That was last year $6,000 and has increased $4,000 to $9,000. Or 3,000, sorry, my math is bad. I need a calculator. But I'm just curious as to what has happened that has increased that amount significantly.
We were unhappy with the previous contractor, so we did not renew the contract with them, and we have somebody new doing it, and they're doing a much better job.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 19 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 19 passes. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $14,200 for the town's insurance. Note, Article 20 includes all municipal buildings, contents, and tax-acquired properties. Vehicle insurance is now listed under the appropriate departments, fire and EMS. 2024's appropriation was $12,667.
Will the article be accepted as read?
Second the motion.
Article 20 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 20 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 20 passes. Article 21. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate up to $45,000 as payment for an assessing agent for the purpose of assessing and maintaining the equity of the property assessments. Last year's appropriation, $46,800.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article 21 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Hoag.
Do we need this?
1 second, please. Thank you.
Do we need this amount where we're just having a reevaluation?
The current assessing agent has told us that they don't want to continue any longer. They offered us a 4-month contract, which we decided wouldn't do us any good, because anybody that wants to question their assessment from the reval has 185 days from the time we go to commitment, which won't be until September. So we're going to go out on the market and see what we get for an assessing agent for the future. And we figure that $45,000 is an appropriate amount to go out, ask for an RFP to see what we can get for an assessing agent.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 21 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 21 passes. Our runner, Bella Carl, just had to leave, but how about a quick round of applause? She's been working very hard. Hope she heard us on her way out. All right. I'm going to bundle Articles 22 through 27, but again, we can pull out any article for further or specific conversation. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 to update the property tax maps, same as appropriation for last year. Article 23, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,000 for the computer replacement account. 2024 was $2,500. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,226 for the payment of membership dues for the Maine Municipal Association. 2024 appropriation was $4,895. Article 25, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $12,500 to pay the auditor. Last year's appropriation, $11,800. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 for the town's litigation account. 2024 appropriation, $10,000. And Article 27, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to take up to $10,000 from the undesignated fund balance for the senior property tax relief ordinance.
Move the articles be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Articles 22 through 27 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
I just want to know.
One moment, sir. Can you mind coming to the mic and state your name as well, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Larry Paul, resident of Woolwich. I just wondering, do we use this Maine Municipal Association? And if we do, how often do we use it?
We get much more out of them than we give them. That do is, we can, for example, we can call our, if we just have a general legal question, we can call our town attorney for $200 an hour, or we can call MMA for nothing. It works out really well.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Articles 22 through 27 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All articles pass. Article 28, to see if the town will vote and appropriate the sum of $16,000 for the continued sampling of groundwater from the installed surface water test sites at the landfill. Last year's appropriation, $13,500.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article 28 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
I'm wondering if we're monitoring the dump, the wells around the dump there, what the trend is. Is the pollution level staying constant, or is the pollution level going up, or is the pollution level going down?
We monitor fuel wells, but at a higher cost. And the last few years, it's indicated that the plume has not moved. So we think it's reached but we are required by state and federal law to monitor this forever. That dump was well known for taking anything that came in through the gate. And it is something that we're going to live with forever.
Well, I checked the DEP website, and it says that they don't have any mandatory testing requirements. So I was wondering if maybe we could push this off to a 2-year program or perhaps a 5-year.
The last I knew, we were under a mandatory requirement to monitor those wells every year. I will check that, but I think that's true.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 28 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 28 passes. Article 29A, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $263,061.69 for the complete weekly curbside refuse collection and disposal, bi-weekly curbside recycling collection and disposal, and to authorize the select board to enter into agreement with Riverside Disposal and Maine for their services. Last year's appropriation was $255,241.21, and the breakdown of the costs are as follows. Weekly curbside collection for trash, $104,423.63. Bi-weekly curbside collection recycling, $35,501.06. Disposal tipping fee based on an estimated 1,300 tons, $117,312. Tipping fee for recyclables estimated at 233 tons at $5,825 for the total of $263,061.69.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion.
Article 29A has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
Jonathan Appleyard, a resident of Woolwich and the chair of your Solid Waste and Recycling Committee. I just wanted to say, I get calls not about complaints from you all. I get calls from other towns, and people actually stop me in grocery stores at times asking me, how does Woolwich do it so efficiently and so satisfactorily? So let me just commend you all for getting your recycling out every other Monday. You're doing a great job. I'd love to see more, but you're doing a great job doing it regularly. And Riverside says we're one of the favorite towns, municipalities that they serve because of the way you act.
Well said. Thank you. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of 29A signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 29A passes. I'm going to bundle Article 29B and C. B, to see if the town will appropriate a sum of not to exceed $25,000 from the undesignated fund balance account for the select board to use, if necessary, for unanticipated solid waste disposal or recycling cost. C, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 for the household hazardous waste collection event. And note, each year the city of Bath, along with area towns, sponsors a household hazardous waste collection day. Citizens sign up to dispose of such items as oil-based paints, fuels, solvents, insecticides, etc. And that day is this Saturday, May 3rd, from 9 o'clock a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion.
29B and C has been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, what I was gonna say is, yes, it is this Saturday. If you had to sign up for it, 36 people, and we pay for it, that's the amount that we set aside. 36 people have signed up for it, and it's full. So if you have signed up for it, please show up, because you're taking a spot that somebody else was unable to do. And if you did, and you show up, I will see you there.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Oh, wait. Okay, you can come up, and you have to come up to the mic.
But just one question, why are there only 36 spots?
I believe that's the amount that we have set aside, and we set aside the $2,500. Is that right?
Yeah, every year we always set aside $2,500. Last year we only had 23 applicants, and we exceeded the $2,500. This year we have 36 applicants or residents that have signed up, so they're only allowed to throw so much away because we can't exceed that $2,500. If you want to raise it next year,
okay.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of 29B and C signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 29B and C passes. Article 30, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,500 for the maintenance and upkeep of the Nequassett Park outhouse. The Nequassett Park Committee budget request is now included in this article. Last year's appropriation was $4,500.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion.
Article 30 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 30 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 30 passes. Article 31, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate such sums of money as may be necessary for the following accounts. Mr. Longley.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the balance of the reading of each line item.
Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the Article 31 reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
I make a motion that the article be accepted as presented. I'd like to make a comment.
I second the
Article 31 has been moved and seconded. First, I have a comment from the select board.
I wish our road commissioner was here tonight. He wasn't able to make it. But I wanted to give a shout out to Jack. A couple of years ago, they put a new solar field on the Nequassett Road. Jack was concerned that the heavy equipment and everything going up and down the road was going to damage the road. So he got the solar panel company to give us $65,000 to set aside for repairs for the road. Well, he did it again this year. Central Maine Power is using the mountain road to haul all kinds of those big towers and everything up where they're working, and huge rolls of wire and that sort of thing. So Jack went to the Central Maine Power and he talked to them, and they agreed, and I have the letter in my hand, to give us $300,000 July 1st. Sometime in the 1st of July, they're going to write us a check for $300,000 so that we can afford to repave the mountain road. And I think Jack deserves, even though he's not here, I'd like to have him have a round of applause.
Thank you. Any other discussion for Article 31? Yes.
I'm just curious, where's the snowplow?
Larry, I think you know about this. So a couple articles coming up, we'll be talking about a sand salt storage building, and so that will give some direction for the select board on how to put it up to bid, Larry.
But we will be taking that. We will have.
Oh yeah, we'll have a number at a future town meeting, a special town meeting.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 31 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 31 passes. I'm going to bundle Article 32A and B. A, to see if the town will authorize the select board to remove up to $70,000, if available, from the Local Road Assistance Program, LRA-LRAP, account for hot topping town roads. And B, to see if the town will authorize the select board to spend any additional LRAP funds for whatever highway purpose the select board and the road commissioner deem appropriate.
Move the article to be accepted as read.
Second the motion.
Article 32AB has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. Whoop, did I miss somebody? I'm sorry. Whoop, please. You either have to come up, unfortunately, to the mic, if you don't mind, please.
I just talk loud.
If everybody can hear her, that'll be okay.
I just wanted to ask if there's a limit on how much tar is used. On the middle road, we don't have any tar beyond the white line, and it's a mess. And I know that it's tough on the ambulances because they're big, wide vehicles. And I wish there was some way to get more money for more tar, and also thinking about cyclists where there's nowhere to go off the side. Thank you.
I just want to comment that both 128 and 127 are state aid roads. We are not allowed to tar them. But the state says they are going to tar our section of 127 this year, the middle road. They are going to even, we hounded the dickens out of them, and they did agree also to come down and shim portions of it before they hot top it. But as you know, the state now puts 5/8 of an inch of hot top down when they tar a road. In my opinion, they might as well buy some Sears weather beater and just paint it.
Yes.
Will they do the shoulders? Because there's more people riding bicycles on those roads nowadays. And like Lee said, there's like 1 foot drops at the shoulder.
Larry, any discussion of those two roads you have to take up with the state. We have no control over them.
Yes.
So I do want to just reiterate though, the select board, the road commissioner, we met last summer, we did everything we could do, we screamed, we jumped, we yelled, we had a bunch of state officials down, we talked about paved shoulders, they said the town could contribute if we wanted, but obviously that's not really in the cards. But David's right, 128, 127, and even Route 1 are getting paved this summer in Woolwich. So we're busy. You've seen the signs up, Betsy, over by your way with the trash bags over them. Those are for the upcoming paving project.
So one of the things that I have gotten over the last 7 years as a state representative is that I have the award for calling DOT the most about crummy roads. And Jason and I have worked hard every time we talk to DOT. We say, can you add paved shoulders? You know, just what Larry was saying and Betsy was saying. I did just present a bill, which is why I was a little bit late tonight, to add, for you EV owners, maybe you're not so crazy about this, but add an EV surcharge of money that would go to pay for the highway, you know, their share of the highway tax. So I don't know where that's going to go, but anyway, we are making continual efforts, believe me.
Any other discussion on 32A and B? In the back.
Just wanted to clarify on B, where it says that deemed necessary, and according to the MRSA, that there are eligible uses and ineligible uses for what that can be utilized for, and should be meant to be edited to say that it's deemed appropriate according to the eligible uses, not what the town. I mean, maybe I'm just doing a word thing, but don't know if we need to clarify that a little further.
Michelle, you are correct. Every year the LRAP program does audit the town, and we submit a summary of what those funds are used for. So you are correct, but we kind of know that, I guess, but we can work on that language.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 32A and B signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 32A and B passes. Article 33, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 for repair and maintenance on unpaved town-maintained roads. Same appropriation as last year.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion.
Article 33 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 33 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 33 passes. Article 34A. To see if the town will vote to authorize the select board or its designee to enter into a purchase and sale agreement, accept a deed, and complete whatever other documents are necessary in the purchase of a 2 or more acre plot of land located on Walker Road and the sand and salt storage facility and other associated improvements on that lot from Jack Shaw for the purchase price of $400,000 to be paid in installments with no interest of $80,000 per year over a 5-year period.
Move the article be accepted as read. Second.
Article 34A has been moved and seconded. I believe some select board comments and then we'll go to the public.
So a few of you probably came to the informational meeting that we had several weeks ago about this proposal. You know, just like Riverside Disposal, I think being very pleased with what they do. I think Woolwich is the envy of the area in terms of our snow plowing operation, and we really want to keep it that way. So there are going to be some changes in the future because the Jack Shaw and Sons is no longer going to be taking part in the 3 of the 6 snow plowing contracts that cover Woolwich. So in order to keep things running along smoothly, the select board has seen fit to start to be able to provide salt and sand to the contractors so that we can open up the bidding on these snow plowing routes to more eligible contractors that are close to Woolwich. So that's what the proposal is. That's the reason that we came up with the idea to get this sand and salt building. And Jack Shaw has offered to sell us their facility at a bargain price, in our view, and that this article is meant to move that forward. Most towns have a salt and sand storage facility, and so we wouldn't be an outlier in any way. But in fact, the only towns in this area that don't have one are the small towns of Aroostook and Georgetown. We believe that if we don't have local contractors able to bid on the snow plowing contracts, we're going to end up having to use far away contractors that do have their own salt and sand storage. So they'll be coming from Portland or Augusta or something. So they won't be able to respond to snow events quickly. But the contractors that we have now, are right here in Woolwich. So as soon as the snow hits the ground, you see them out there.
Tom, if I might?
Yeah.
If you've lived in town long enough to remember back when we had some out-of-town contractors plowing our roads, the response time was horrible. We had a fellow out of Westport Island one year. Dale had to actually go down to his house and wake him up to get him to come back down the roads. We also had a company from West Bath at one time that was plowing the roads, and they literally couldn't get across the bridge to get here to plow the roads. So we've been very fortunate all these years. We plow 60 miles of roads every winter. Jack Shaw and Sons plowed 42 of those 60 miles. Our fear is no small contractor. We need 1,500 yards of sand and salt to do all the roads every winter. You have to have a building that's DEP approved. It has to have either a cement or a hot top floor in it. It has to have walls that are interior walls that are high enough to keep the salt from leaching out and all that stuff. This building is all prepared to do that. Westport Island built a building on their own land that they already owned 10 years ago and spent more money on that than we're gonna pay for this one with 2 acres of land. Richmond just built a new one 2 years ago. I thought I brought the numbers with me tonight, so I'm gonna try this from memory. The engineering firm that engineered the building said it was gonna cost $823,000, something like that, to build it. They got 2 bids. One was well over $1 million and one was just under $1 million. And that was on land that they already owned. So this is a bargain. I was talking with one of the select people from Dresden recently, and when I told her that we could buy this building for $400,000 with 2 acres of land, and it was all ready to go, she says, jump on it. She said, we spent a lot more than that on a building a few years ago, and it's not nearly as good a building. She said, you'd be crazy not to buy it. Our greatest fear is, if we don't own the salt and sand building, we're not going to get any of the small local contractors to bid on the job. Because who's going to go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to build a building to get a 3-year contract that they may not get the next time? I mean, it doesn't make economic sense. The other thing is, at some point in time, Jack is probably going to retire as road commissioner. And we're going to need a place to store our culverts and that sort of thing. And with 2 acres of land there, we'll have plenty of room to store whatever we need to store. The building is centrally located in town. It's an equal distance to the north end of town or the south end of town. It's all there, it's all ready to go. It's got a paved apron out front. We're going to still get the little building that you can go over and get a couple buckets of sand out of. We will have to rent a loader from 1st of November until May 1st. We've figured out the cost. We really think, and any of you that knows me personally knows that I'm very frugal, but I think this will save the town money over the life of the building. The building's in great shape. It's all ready to go. It's a good deal, and we're getting it interest-free. $80,000 a year for 5 years with no interest. And I asked Jack, I said, do you need it all in one payment, or can I pay you monthly or whatever? He said, I don't care how you pay us as long as we get $80,000 in the course of the year. He said, you can pay it any way you want. So that it's a good deal, and it will save us money in the long run.
Any other discussion? Yes.
I just want to let all the townspeople know that I did a lot of research on this project, and it is in fact true. And I spoke to several contractors, and they will not bid on plowing our roads unless we furnish the sand and salt. And so I think it's a good idea to get this building. I'm not so sure about the location because I did speak to contractors south of here, and they are not willing to, people from West Ave are not willing to bid, or at least the ones I spoke to, are not willing to bid on our snow plowing because our sand salt building will be too far north of them. But there are several contractors who are going to be bidding who are from the north area of town. So I think it's a good idea, and I think we should be.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Longley.
Move the question.
There's been a motion to move, and a motion's been made and seconded to move Article 34. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. All right. All those in favor of Article 34A signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 34A passes. Article 34B, to raise and appropriate $80,000 for the first year's payment for the salt and sand building and property.
Move the article be accepted as read. Second.
Article 34B has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 34B signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 34B passes. Article 35, to see if the town will raise and or appropriate such sums of money as may be necessary for the following accounts. Appropriate $600 from the Woolwich Emergency Management Agency account and raise and appropriate $66,688 through taxation.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, Mr. Longley.
Dispense with the reading of the balance of the line items.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the reading of Article 35. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Move the article be accepted as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Article 35 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 35 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 35 passes. Article 36A, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $194,557 for the fire department account. The breakdown of the account is as follows. Mr. Longley.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the reading of each line item.
Second.
Motion's been made for Article 36A, suspend the reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Move the article be accepted as presented.
Second.
Article 36A has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of Article 36A signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 36A passes. And Mr. Long is never allowed to miss a town meeting. Article 36B, to see if, I'm going to bundle Article 36B, 1 and 2. B, to see if the town will vote, B1, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,180 for interest payments for the 9th year for the fire truck. And 2, to raise and appropriate the sum of $34,800 for principal payments for the 9th year for the fire truck.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion.
36B, 1 and 2 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 36B, 1 and 2 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article passes. Article 37, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 for the catastrophic repair account. Last year's appropriation was $10,000.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion.
Article 37 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 37 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 37 passes. Article 38A, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $390,586 for the Emergency Medical Service Department. The breakdown in count is as follows. Mr. Longley.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to dispense with the reading of each line item and the balance of this account.
Second.
Article 38A has been moved and seconded to suspend the reading. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Move the article be accepted as presented.
Second the motion.
Article 38A has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
I just have a question. I did a little research on the surrounding communities.
Larry, go to the mic, we can't hear you back there.
I did a little research on what the surrounding communities pay for this service. Well, like Richmond pays just under $200,000 for fire and EMS. Damascotta is $252,000 for fire and EMS. But we're over 400 when you consider the ambulance. We're over 400,000 just for EMS. Can you please explain that? It's double what everyone else is paying.
Well, if you notice, there's a note here that says they have the potential to bring in $120,000 of revenue, and I believe they exceed that every year. So if you take the 390,000 less the 120, it's a great service, and they're doing a great job.
So the 120, that's a given?
Larry?
Wait a minute.
Kim, I don't know, do you have that number of what they did bring in this year?
As of the end of March, we have brought in to $100,222. So we still have April and May, so we'll probably exceed the 120. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Any other, Glenn, Ms. Kirkpatrick?
I just wanted to, Larry, those towns you mentioned don't have their own ambulance. So it does increase more when you have two of your own ambulance. Richmond does not, they use Gardner, and Damerscott uses CLC. So they don't have the...
It's not that far off if we're getting 120 or whatever back.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. No, oh, good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 38A signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 38A passes. I am going to bundle 38B, 1 and 2. To B, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $0 for the interest payments for the final payment for the ambulance. And B2, to raise and appropriate the sum of $21,429 for principal payments for the final payment for the ambulance.
May the article be accepted as read?
Second the motion.
38B, 1 and 2 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. B, 1 and 2 passes. C, to see if the town will authorize the select board to use any amount of income generated by rescue services to reduce the budget as they deem appropriate.
Will the article be accepted as read?
Second the motion.
C has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 38C signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 38C passes. Article 39, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $400 from the snowmobile registration reimbursement for the Nequasa Trailbreakers Snowmobile Club. Same appropriation as last year.
Will the article be accepted as read?
Second the motion.
Article 39 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 39 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 39 passes. Article 40, to see what sum of money the town will vote to donate to the following local agencies. Mr. Longley.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the balance of the reading of each line item.
Second.
There's been a motion for Article 40 and seconded to suspend the reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Move the article as presented.
Second the motion.
Article's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
I guess I'll hold it. I just wanted to ask, with these amounts that are down here, have there been any increases or changes in those amounts since when?
We decided years ago that we would just continue whatever we were giving at that point in time. And we have over the years increased a couple of these, but the way the article is written, I suppose you could ask to increase one of these and it could be voted on separately.
So, do you remember when this was decided just to hold what you had over those years?
I'm not sure what year it was.
Yeah, I'm in on the board for 14 years, and I think, there's been a couple of additions, like the Bath YMCA and the Maritime Boat Program, But other than that, it's been the same as far as I can recall. I'd be happy to go back and look for some town reports. And the other thing I wanted to note is that $7,500 for last year for Tedford was a one-time capital fund donation.
Thank you. This is sort of like a minority kind of issue. I want to pass this, definitely, because I think all of these organizations deserve it. I just am concerned that with all of the other things that go up, these services that help the greater good in our communities have been frozen for 14 years.
So I'd like to respond. So the board wrangles with these every year. So the budget we put together because we know what we spend and what we need to spend and that sort of thing. But these are donations. And so many of these agencies did ask for more money. But the board, not that some of us board members don't support that or do support that or whatever, but we bring this to you folks. This article is worded to see what sum of money you want to donate. So if you say you want to put $500 more in the food bank, somebody needs to make a motion and we'll talk about it. But we just feel that it's your money, it's your tax dollars. David's always made the point that this is a donation, so that's what we're here for.
You have to realize that we are raising tax dollars for the purpose of giving it away. And while it's a noble thing, there are some people in this town that struggle to pay their taxes. So I suppose in a perfect world we'd have enough money that we could give everybody everything they ask for. But I always say temper your passion with a little compassion for the taxpayer.
Just that, comparison to what's going on in the rest of the budget, 14 years staying at the same level, it seems a little unreasonable, and I think it just takes a whole lot of time and pain if we're going through each of these individually. So I hope maybe in the future we can look at that in a little more nuanced way.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes. In the back. Yep. No. Here we go.
I face this way.
We won't take it.
Hi, I am Kimberly Becker, and I am a member of the Bath Area Food Bank Board. And I'm just here to give a little bit of background. Last year, the Tedford guy came and talked a bit, and I felt like it helped me kind of understand. So Woolwich had in 2023 275 visits from individuals to the Bath Area Food Bank. I don't know how many families that was. It's not broken out that way. In 2024, so it was 275 in 2023, and it was 428 visits in 2024. And then so far, the numbers are a little wonky here, but so far we have had 150 visitors for the first quarter of this year. So each year we're going up by 250 people visits.
All from Woolwich?
Oh, that's just Woolwich, yeah. And we give away a $250 box of food, and they're also allowed to invited to go into the tent outside, which has Panera food and food from the local grocery stores. And when you add up the amount that we gave away in 2024 for those 428 visits, it adds up to about the value adds up to about $110,000. We do it on an exceptionally tight, lean organization. We have 3 staff members, 1 full-time, that's our director, and 2 part-time, and then we have 1 intern, the whole organization. In the month of March, I believe, maybe it was April, this year, we lost 65% of our funding was cut, which accounts for 75% of the food we give away. I'm sorry if I'm shaking. I didn't think I'd be nervous getting up here. And we also lost farmer subsidies. So a thing that the federal government once did was that they would give us money to pay farmers to purchase food for other food banks. So that's how we got fresh fruits and vegetables in the food bank. And that just got canceled last month. So we're dipping into our reserves deeply. There are 3 food banks that have closed already in the state of Maine in the last 3 weeks. And they're all, the people who go to them have been told to come to us, to the others. So we're dipping into those reserves and we're not getting any more fresh fruits and vegetables. The only fresh fruits and vegetables that will go out is stuff that Hannaford or Shaw's gives us. To give it perspective, before we had a food bank, the way that it was handled, at least in the city of Bath, is if a family or a person came in to the town hall and asked for help, they didn't have any food, the town of Bath would give them a $50 gift card. I believe they were allowed to take 2 a month. That would be like $45,000 from that general assistance account for the visits last year from Woolwich. Yeah, so that's it. I'm asking, I have to figure out how to say this correctly. I'm asking to amend this article to change it from $1,250 to $2,000. Thank you for listening. And I will try and answer questions if I can. Yeah.
What happens to those people if you close?
So we estimate that if things stay the way that they are right now, we're not going to be able to stay open for more than 2 more years. And what happens to it, I don't know, to be honest with you, what happens.
Okay, so we have an amendment on the floor. Do I have a second?
Can any townsperson try to increase that?
Yep, and on this article, yes.
I would like to increase it. I would like to make
Well, let's do this amendment, and then we'll have discussion, and then we can maybe, if you're looking at, is that okay?
Yeah,
You're talking about the same line item, or?
the same thing, yeah.
Yes, okay. So we have an amendment to increase the Bath Area Food Bank from $1,250 to $2,000, a $750 increase. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, motion's been made and second for the amendment. Do I have any discussion? Yes. Ms. Kirkpatrick?
Is this the time that I would do that?
Sure.
I think this is kind of a no-brainer. I think $2,000 is an absolute drop in the bucket. And the money that we're spending on things that are very important to all of our townspeople, I get that, and I've been here every year, and all of you probably know my opinion on some of the things. But to me, and I'm going to take a real big leap here, I think we should be giving, please don't judge, I think we should be giving at least 10 grand for the food bank. At least.
All right, so the discussion was raising this line item to 10,000. I want to make sure I do this right. So I'm thinking we're going to vote on the first amendment, and if you think it needs to be increased to the amount that's been stated in the back, vote this amendment down, and then we'll make another amendment. Okay? Does that sound right? Okay. All right, more discussion on the current amendment. Mr. Hope.
My name is Ted Hoke. Given how this article is worded, can you amend it upwards?
It is the only article here that can be raised. Every other article can be lowered but not raised. But this one needs us to see what sum of money the town will authorize.
All right, it's uncapped, not capped.
It doesn't say to raise and appropriate. It says to see what sum you'll raise.
Sir, yep, you.
Quick question. On this, does that mean we can take the funding, or let's say Maine Maritime, which is a very financially stable institution, and move that $5,000 to the food bank?
That would, no, I don't think so either.
No, you can't move it from one line to the other, but you could vote to eliminate that $5,000, but I would be very much opposed to that, because if you've ever gone down to the Maine Maritime Museum and watched what it is that the 8th grade students here from this school get to go down there and build a boat. You go in there, they don't allow them to use their cell phones, they can't use calculators, they're actually in there using a ruler and a tape measure, and they're learning. They may never be boat builders, but they're learning a skill that they can repair that fence, they can hang a door or whatever, and it's great. They have to write an essay to get into the program. And then it's wonderful to get down there and watch these kids working on those boats.
But David, is that the Maine Maritime Museum or the Maine Maritime Academy?
Maine Maritime, the $5,000 doesn't come close to covering the cost of the program. That's our donation towards Maine Maritime to run the program.
So it is a museum, it's not the, okay.
But this $5,000 is just for Woolwich kids.
Yeah, so the only thing I would like to say is Kimberly just spoke, and obviously she's affiliated with the food bank, and I would just caution the group on going too far too quick. You know, if she's recommending to go to $2,000, and Heidi, I think it's noble, and there's no question it's a great resource. I just would caution going too far too quick. The board looked at these. We looked at cost of living. If you add 3% to any of these, it's a very small number. We thought you'd laugh us out of the room. And so we just all agreed to leave them for you folks. But I just, you know, going from a $1,250 to a $10,000, I don't know. I guess.
Okay. Mrs. Kirkpatrick.
Can I add a little bit to what I said? I'm not throwing that out as somebody that hasn't watched what's happening firsthand. I've been a coach at the high school for almost 15 years. And the Boosters Club at the high school actually has put together a refrigerator and puts food in that refrigerator for kids that come to school. I've witnessed kids on my own team that have come to practice and almost passed out because they haven't eaten in a day and a half. All right? These are kids that they don't have a job. They're doing their best just to get dressed and go to school every day. I'm going to say it, okay? We're giving $70 grand to the library, okay? That's great. It's a great thing. We're all going to be able to take advantage of it. $23 a piece, I think, is what a gentleman said it's going to cost us. This is a portion of that to help people that are hungry. I don't know if anybody here has ever gone without a meal and they needed it. I think most of us here probably all have first world problems. These people are not eating, and I think that it is our fiscal responsibility to step up and help. I think $1,500 or even $2,000 is almost an insult. That's my thought.
Okay. Mr. Stoner.
I speak softly, but maybe I'll speak loud enough now. How many of these are 501c3s? Suggesting that if any of these are 501c3s, you can donate directly to them as a tax-deductible item and gain that yourself to advance what you're suggesting.
Yes.
I want to quote Calvin Coolidge here. Raising more taxes than is absolutely necessary is legalized robbery. There are some people in this town, I understand the passion, I understand wanting to donate to these things, but there are some people in this town that an extra $100, $200 on their taxes is going to make no difference to them whatsoever. But there are some people in this town that an extra $100 or $200 on their taxes will mean that they buy less food, less medicine, or less heating oil. So again, you know, we started years ago. This list was much shorter when I first got elected. Dale and I, Dale's been at it for 33 years, I've been at it for 30. And this, you know, we have added new ones. Whenever anybody takes a petition, gets a certain number of signatures and brings it back, we add them onto the list. But we are raising tax dollars for the specific purpose of giving it away, okay? There is nothing to stop anybody in this room from donating to any one of these causes out of your own pocket at your own time if you can afford to do it. But is it really wise to force somebody that may not be able to afford the increase to contribute? That's just my thoughts.
It's the same thing as the libraries.
All right, do you recognize, please, sir, here in the front? Yep. And then I'll get you in the back, sir.
I agree with our chairman that it's not the town's right to authorize moral decisions on a grand scale. But I don't think we're talking about $100 or $200 per tax bill. We're talking about 10 cents or 20 cents per bill. And I think our major responsibility is to act as citizens, as individuals, and give those monies we choose to give charitably, that we're responsible for that. But there are times in life when collective action can move us and affect a change that we cannot do individually. And I think at this moment, I'm with you, $10,000. We did it for Tedford because they were going to a permanent facility that was going to extend their program tenfold in its effectiveness for homelessness in our area. We came through with that $7,500 because we saw something, short-term investment for a long-term payoff. And I think the well-being of our neighbors who are food insecure are worth it.
I'll just say, we got emergencies. So I think it's important that one part of what was shared is flagged, and that is the lack and loss of federal funding. And I say that not because we should mess around and find out and then figure out who to vote for next time. I say that because this is not the first thing where a town is going to try to figure out how to supplant a federal government-funded program. I don't think we can do that. I don't think we can fill the gap left by federal funds. So all I'm saying is I think this is a conversation, if things continue to unfold the way they're unfolding, we're going to have this issue with lots of different services and programs. So tonight, let's give them $50,000. What happens in 6 months when there's a housing crisis? What happens when there's an education crisis or a childcare crisis? I don't think that we can fill all the gaps the federal government has been filling for decades, well or not well, depending on your opinion. But I think that that's something that the select board and others are going to have that discussion, as well as us in the community, because there are lots of things like food that are crucial. And I think having worked at AARP for 10 years, I can tell you that most people, especially seniors, don't tell you when they're starving. So having these sources available is crucial. Maybe one of the things we can also do is knock on your neighbor's door, talk to each other, and figure out how each other are doing. That could maybe help in a much less costly way. But I think this is going to be an ongoing conversation, not just in Woolwich, but other communities around the country.
Is there a comment in the back? Yes.
I'm Jennifer Hall. I am a volunteer at the food bank, and I can tell you all firsthand every week that I'm there that the numbers increase. But I can also tell you the gratitude that people have for what they're receiving and the appreciation that I have.
All right, now you're really going to get my big mouth. So I volunteer at the food bank. I've been there for several years volunteering every week. And the numbers have increased exponentially, as Kim explained. And things are slowing down a little bit as far as donations and what we see coming in. However, I can tell you also the gratitude of the folks that are getting the food that they're receiving is huge. The appreciation that they have for what they're receiving is really big. And we've started something newer now with the actual boxes that if they can't take everything that they get in the box, they leave it in their cart so that we can still have it to give to someone else. So it's not being wasted. The food is being taken appropriately and used appropriately. So I agree with everybody on wanting to fund the food bank. I think it's amazing, and I think it's local and community, and it's just supporting everybody else. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Yes.
I heard that
Your name, please?
Nancy, there are children in this town that go hungry. How is that possible? How can we ignore that? Maybe they're worried about 10,000, maybe we should have our own food bank and not relying on somewhere else. Maybe we should support our own community and not making it okay for children to go hungry.
Yes, in the back.
I'll try to speak loudly.
Hi, Mr. Howe.
I agree with increasing the number, but I'm not going to necessarily even talk about what it comes out to. They calculated $3 $3,000. I just think if we raise it something, and as much as we can, it may set a precedent that other towns look and say, what did Woolwich just do? And also that we acknowledge the problem of food insecurity in the United States and acknowledge that loss of all of the federal funding that's happening right now in the last 100 days is going to make it only worse. That's all I have to say.
So food insecurity was an issue when my kids went to school there, and I'm sure it's a much bigger issue now. So my question is to Dave and Jason. Sorry, Jason.
No, it's fine.
It seems like $3 each. Doesn't seem like, I know the questions are here, moral questions, but it seems like Woolwich should step up here and do the right thing.
All right, any other discussion? Yes. Okay, the amendment, right? So there's been a motion made to move the amendment. Do I have a second? And second. I will go over the amendment. Yes, the amendment is to increase. Right now, the amendment is to increase the food bank from $1,250 to $2,000, which is a $750 increase. Do I have a second on moving the question? Seconded. All those in favor of...
Can I remove my second?
No, the second was from the back. All those in favor of moving the amendment on Article 40 on the food bank signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. Motion fails. All right. Any other discussion?
Okay, this is on raising it to $2,000, right?
Go ahead.
So I just want to make a clarification here. Whoever made the amendment to go from $1,250 to $2,000, if it's the wishes of the people here to go differently, then the easiest thing to do is just withdraw that amendment. If somebody just withdraws
and introduce a new one.
Then introduce a new amendment. Are you, Kimberly, did you make that? Yes. And are you withdrawing it?
I'm withdrawing it.
All right, so now I would think we'd be open to.
Now the second is
All right, and who seconded
that motion.
Larry, did you second it? Do you want to withdraw that now? Okay.
All those in favor of withdrawing? Do I have to vote for that? No, I don't think so. Okay. All right, so the amendment's been withdrawn. So hang on, stay tuned here for a minute. So we're back to the amounts that are on the sheet, right? Does someone want to make another amendment? Mrs. Kirkpatrick.
To increase the 10,000 to the Bath Food Bank.
So there's an amendment to increase the Bath Area Food Bank donation from $1,250 to $10,000. Is that correct? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Stoner.
I'll restate my question. Apparently someone knows the food bank details. Are you a 501c3?
Yes.
So the food bank is a 501c3. So the option would be to vote no on this and offer your own donations to the food bank, which seems to be necessary and helpful. And I think people could do that more beneficially and at a larger amount than $10,000 being on the table currently.
You're talking about wealthy people that need it.
All right, point of order. We'll do, let me take control of the floor. We got that point. Jennifer?
Just one point of clarification is at this time, we feed all children for free in our school systems, at least 2 times a day, Monday through Friday, and additional food on top of that. And also, just to clarify, is that our school budget is not within these amounts of money we're talking about today. So we also have to, on top of everything we're voting for today, we've got also to pay for the cost of our school budget. So when you think about what we're encumbering people who are struggling already, is that we've got some really big tickets here, and I just want to ask people to think, I think that incremental increases help people in planning how much their tax dollars may be going up, and they can budget for that easier than a larger increase. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Yes.
Can we move the question, sir?
It's been a motion to move the amendment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second. There has to be a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of moving the amendment of the food bank from $1,250 to $10,000 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no?
No.
Motion passes. The question's been moved. It's to move the question. Now we're going to vote on the amendment. So right now we're voting on just the amendment, okay? All those in favor of the amendment increasing the Bath Area Food Bank from $1,250 to $10,000 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Motion passes. So that, all right. So now we're back to Article 40, which now the 2025 appropriation will be, I believe, $30,391.
Let's see if we can add $8,750.
I just need a total. Oh, I gotcha. One moment, please. 29,141. All right, so the total now for the 2025 appropriation will be a total of $29,141.
I move the question as presented. Second.
Article 40 has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 40 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
No.
Article 40 passes. Article 41. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,391.
$29,000.
Whoops, my sorry. Yeah.
My math is right, it's 20.
My math is slow, I apologize. I've done math wrong. All right, let me rephrase. Article 41, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $29,141 for donations to local agencies and organizations.
Move the article be accepted as presented. Second the motion.
Article 41 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Hope?
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
My name is Ted Hope. My earlier question, you said we could raise the amount because the language wasn't raised and appropriated. Here, the language is raised and appropriated. So how can you raise the figure in Article 41?
Well, it is, but we will say that we did check with the town attorney on this. Okay, it was run by the town attorney, and as David always says, the first part you order your meal, the second part you fund the meal. And she said we were allowed to do this.
Because the previous article does raise the number, and it could be raised in the previous article. Like Jason just said, in the previous article you ordered the meal, now the waiters brought the check. If we don't vote for this one, then everything we just did on the first half of the article is moved.
But you're ignoring that language.
Yes, I am, but I think it's legal. I hope it's legal.
Okay. Any further discussion for Article 41? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 41 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 41 passes. Article 42, shall the Town of Woolwich Planning Ordinance be amended as indicated? Definitions of dwellings, multiple dwellings, clustered residential development, and residential density, clarifying residential area dwelling per lot, density, and lot size requirements, and fee structure. I'm going to first recognize our Planning Board Chairman, Greg Bukowski. Go ahead.
I'll move the article as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Sorry, I got ahead of myself. My apologies.
All right.
Go ahead, Greg.
Thanks everybody for hanging in here. I'll try to be brief. This is a very limited and bounded change to the planning ordinance. And it came up as a result of some discussion with the select board over the course of the year. And there were two primary issues. One is, in the current ordinance, when we talk about dwellings, which we've now refined to dwelling unit, but that's sort of sideline. We have dwellings where a structure that can house up to 2 families in all the districts except shoreline zoning, where it's restricted to 1. And then you jumped up to multiple dwellings, which had 2 families, and clustered dwellings that had 3 or more. So where this came up was we had a subdivision that we approved, and we approved for a dwelling on every lot of a small subdivision. And the builder chose to put in duplex housing, which was perfectly allowed because by the definition in our ordinance, a dwelling could be up to 2 families. So a duplex was allowed without any change to the subdivision ordinance application. So the discussion was we wanted to make something that would flag things like that up front so we could have maybe a more detailed discussion and ask maybe different questions during the subdivision application process. So the first set of changes has to do with changing the definitions of dwelling and dwelling unit, whatever. And it doesn't change any of the requirements or standards that are used in the ordinance. It just changes what we call things. And what we did is we changed dwelling to dwelling unit, and we borrowed we used the same definition as used in shoreline zoning right now, which basically restricts it to 1 family. And then we got rid of the clustered dwelling. That was getting people confused in some discussions with clustered residential developments, which it really doesn't directly apply to. And we came up with multiple dwelling. So we basically have 1 family, more than 1 family, and those are the terms that we proposed in the ordinance as opposed to the others that were also there. At the same time, we also cleaned up some language to make some clarity for clustered residential development, and we got rid of the multi-unit housing development, because that got added in as a bycatch of the last year's additions for the LD 2003, but it turns out we don't use that anywhere else in the ordinance, so it was superfluous in the definition. The second change was to change how we set the fees for building permits and the fee structure for things that you have to apply for under our planning ordinance. The current method is the numbers, the fee rates were directly in the ordinance. So to adjust any fees for prevailing conditions, whatever, it would have to have an ordinance change, come back to a town meeting, whatever. So the proposal is to change it to allow the select board to set the rates, which is a common practice, after a public hearing for both the building permits and the things like if you're putting in a subdivision application or other things you have to apply for that have a fee associated with them in the planning ordinance. So it doesn't change the fees right now, but it changes how they'll be determined. So, and then the last thing that we did, aside from cleaning up some terms of art, like I mentioned, we would have dwelling unit instead of dwelling, and that was propagated beyond, throughout the ordinance to make it consistent. Also, we changed the net residential density to residential density where it's cited, and that was a recommendation from our attorney because net residential density is a term of art used in a lot of environmental regulations, and this isn't really an environmental regulation. So for future clarity, we changed that. But when we had the public hearing for this, I'd say 2/3 of the time in the public hearing was spent talking about recreational vehicles and recreational vehicles on a lot, and how long should a recreational vehicle be on a lot, and plumbing and sewage disposal and potable water. So, the language right now was pretty much you can have a residential, recreational vehicle up to 30 days with the CEO's approval, and after that you had to come to a planning board, but it didn't say much more after that. So we basically adopted the following to address the comments of the public at the public hearing, is up to 30 days. Someone can, if you have a family member coming to visit, can park their RV on your lot. Basically, they can just do it, and they don't have to show any, they don't have to be hooked up publicly to water or sewage, whatever is going. It's sort of a buy for visitors. Up to 120 days, the CEO would approve it, and they have to show that they have the means for proper sewage disposal and keep records of the sewage disposal to prevent inadvertent dumping, whatever. Also potable water, and over 120 days, it's basically treated as a dwelling unit, like a structure. You have to have permanent water and into a permanent sewage thing, which somewhat mirrors what we have in the shoreline zoning already. So those are the changes. If there's any questions, I will try to answer them. Again, even though we talk about in the warrant about residential density, we didn't change any density requirements. We didn't really change the only thing that really changed of requirements is this little tightening up of the recreational vehicle. Everything else was just basically changes of definitions and some wording for clarity of what we're already doing.
Thank you, Greg. Any discussion? Mr. Stoner.
I'll need a mic for this to go over my details.
Did I move the question?
You may, but I think people might want to hear this. Tom Stoner. I had been on the planning board for a bit, and I've been on the planning board in Pennsylvania as well. Yes, I'm a transplant. And hopefully when I finish, you'll understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. I've submitted these recommendations when the comments were available. Just to clarify, under subdivision, the way it's set up here, it reads the term subdivision also includes the division of a new structure where structures on a tract or parcel of land into 3 or more dwelling units within a 5-year period. The detail in that is the state LD 2003 limited that to a maximum of 4. So we're saying it can be 3 or more. What that's saying is we're opening it to apartments, high-rise apartments. And why that's important, the indication is there's an appendix with a map on here, but I didn't see a map that shows up. But it was detailed as to what the designated districts are. Just for clarification, Article 3I says nothing about designated growth areas. I was questioning that initially, but it does indicate it includes general purpose and residential districts. And the reason that's important, the same article details for designated growth areas what those designated growth areas are is covered in Article 3G. And people need to understand that for that article, the designated growth area includes the general purpose area, which is designated on the map that I suppose should be attached to this, and the residential districts. Now, the residential districts include Days Ferry and various other portions of the town that are all open to development. And that's what this planning ordinance indicates, is the designated districts include the general purpose area, which is basically the industrial park, and the residential districts includes Days Ferry and three other districts that are residential. So just so everyone understands, voting for this ordinance is going to allow you to have developments in your residential areas, in your homes. So the other part of this as well, that I've been trying to get people to understand, is that the Resource Protection District should include protection of the Nequasset watershed. And that's important because the water quality that we have in the lake for Nequasset is supplying towns between Wiscasset, Topsom, Brunswick, and Bath. So it's an asset that the town has at the moment that we don't want destroyed. And I think the Resiliency Committee could probably weigh in on this issue with very little study or research, because likely that data is available. So another revision that would be beneficial is to have minimum lot sizes in the watershed district, which is a larger area than is now designated, to allow the protection of the water quality and the open space that we have in the town at the moment. Just so you're aware, this is what you're voting on.
Thank you, Tom. I'll try to take these, and you'll let me know if I missed something, I'm sure. So, as I said, this year's changes are limited to some very specific areas that we wanted to address, not a whole ordering of the ordinance. We hope to be starting in earnest, be getting slow traction starting this past year, actually doing a revision of our planning ordinances to bring them in line. We've done a lot of patching over the years, especially like last year with the LD 2003. Bringing that in was somewhat challenging, and we wanted to update the planning ordinances, even if it doesn't change the standards and requirements, but at least the formatting, so things are much more clearer for the average person to follow any ordinance, rather than how we sort of had to patch it in up till now, more based on time constraints. So we'll be doing that over the next year, so we'll keep your eye out for the planning board notices, and when we have workshops, and we'd be happy to hear from you. On the designated growth area, there are changes and requirements that came in last year under LD 2003. What's allowed in designated growth area? The designated growth area does not include Days Ferry. It includes an area, and there's an Appendix A to the planning ordinance, which is the map, which unfortunately is currently not on the website, but I think it's verbally described in the ordinance. Basically, it's the area that comes from, bounded on one side by Route 1, basically from the Dyke area by Taste of Maine, moving north, along Route 1 north, and then bound by the railroad tracks. And the reason why that was, and that's consistent with what is in the comprehensive plan. It's not identical to what is in our comprehensive plan, which extends it a little bit further, but because the comprehensive plan didn't have survey lines or markers of where the boundary was on one edge, we had to find something that had a physical boundary that people could recognize and describe. So after discussion with the town attorney, we came to the conclusion that what we published in this Appendix A is in fact consistent with the comprehensive plan, even though it's not identical. Because the comprehensive plan is not an ordinance, or it's a guidance document essentially. Our ordinances do need to be consistent with the plan. They don't need to necessarily be identical to the plan, because like I said, the comprehensive plan is not an ordinance. And the last thing, now, I did
Resource protection around the lake.
Resource protection, yes, thank you. Resource protection around the lake. Again, we didn't address lot size changes in this ordinance. That's a much bigger question. Again, our lot size, any lot size change would have to be consistent with a comprehensive plan and would require a lot more discussion than we had coming into, to make these changes for now. And fundamentally, the biggest things we wanted to get in for this one was to clarify this thing with the, where we up till now had a dwelling could be up to 2 families, to make that more visible, to the planning board for, especially during subdivision reviews, and to try to change how we determine our fees. That was sort of where it came. The recreational vehicle thing came in based on a discussion, and we had an opportunity to do that. At the public hearing, Tom brought up the issue of why would you have allow ADUs, which the accessory dwelling units that are allowed by LD 2003 in resource protection to begin with, which is a valid question. However, the state specifically forbids excluding ADUs in the resource protection area just because it's in a resource protection area. If they meet the standards for resource protection, you have to allow them. We have no choice in that. That's mandated by state statute. So, any other questions?
Second.
All right, so there's a motion to move the question that's been seconded. Again, there has to be 2/3 vote. All those in favor of moving Article 42 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no?
No.
Motion passes. All right.
I move the article be accepted as read. I second.
Yeah, you already said it. Confusing me. No. All those in favor of Article 42, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Article passes, excuse me. All right. Mr. Mead, one of our longtime residents, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Would you like to make that motion, sir?
Moderator, at no cost to the town.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for participating in your government.